Hello and welcome to the NexusMindPodcast. I am your host, Abiola Michael, and if this is your first time here, welcome to a community built on honest conversations about growth, purpose, leadership, emotional resilience, and self-awareness. Now, here's something I've come to believe. Information can change your perspective, but mindset changes your life. And every week, my goal is simply to leave you thinking differently than when you joined in. So, wherever you are, wherever you're listening from, whether you're driving, taking a walk, or simply taking a moment to breathe, thank you for allowing me into your day. Now, let's talk about something that happened recently and actually made me realize that this podcast is bigger than I ever imagined. Last week, I experienced two conversations that completely changed the way I think about influence. Neither conversations were planned, yet both conversations left me in silence, asking myself one question. Am I becoming the kind of person whose influence deserves the trust people are placing in me? And honestly, I think that's a question we should all ask ourselves as individuals. Now, today's episode actually stemmed from a message I received from one of our listeners last week. Right after listening in on our previous episode, he sent me a text. Now, this text wasn't a complicated one. It simply stated, "Lately, I really have been enjoying your podcast and I am curious what actually inspired you to start." And I smiled. Because that question forced me to answer the question of why I started. Right? Though I knew why, but it actually got me ruminating on why I started. And my response was simple. I've been in several rooms, I've joined on calls, meetings, conversations with friends, colleagues, classmates. You mentioned it, several conversations. And having enough of all of these conversations, I noticed something. Many people were not necessarily lazy. They were not unintelligent, neither were they incapable. Most of them were simply missing one of two things. Now, either they lacked the right information, or they had the information but lacked the mindset to set or act on it. Now, someone can know exactly what they should do, but decides not to still do it. We have seen it all. We know we should save money. We know we should read more. We know we should exercise. We know we should forgive. We know we should apologize. We know we should take opportunities. We know we should stop procrastinating. We know. But knowledge isn't usually the issue all the time. The issue is whether our minds are prepared to cooperate with what we already know. Now, my answer was simple, concise, and straightforward. Information is powerful, but information without the right mindset is like giving someone a map they never intend to follow. Now, the destination doesn't change. They simply never begin the journey. And somewhere along the way, I realized something about myself. I couldn't keep these conversations limited to one person at a time. If these ideas had helped people sitting across me in cafes, walking beside me after church service, talking to me late night over the phone call, then maybe there are thousands of people out there I would never meet, but they need to hear the same conversations. Now, that's where the seed for this podcast really came from. And that is how the Nexus Mind podcast was birthed. Not from wanting attention, not from wanting to become a content creator, not because podcasting became suddenly popular, but because conversations have always changed the way I think it has always changed my life. And I hoped that somewhere, somehow, someday, these conversations might change someone else's life too. Now, after I responded to him, he wrote back to me. Information is power in the hands of someone who has the right mindset. And I responded, yes. Now, read that again. Not information alone, not mindset alone, but both. Because information tells you what is possible. Mindset determines whether you make it possible. Now, I couldn't fully explain what I felt after hearing those words. It wasn't pride, neither was it excitement, but something deeper. I felt a relief. Because for the first time, I realized the message had landed exactly where I hoped it would. Sometimes you create anything and you wonder if anyone truly understands what you are saying, the message you are passing across. People might like it, they might share it, they might even compliment it, but understanding it is a different context. And understanding changes people. And this response reminded me why this podcast exists. Not to impress people, but to help people think differently. Now, as if life was not finished teaching me, that same night I had a conversation with a friend. She called me and we spoke about something completely different, not even close to the mindset, the podcast rather. She simply wanted to talk about something happening in her own life. Now, we spoke for quite a while, and eventually, the conversation reached a point where I got curious and I asked her, why did you decide to call me about this? Out of everyone you know, why were you so sure I would give you the answer you're looking for? And our response was shocking. Now, our response wasn't dramatic, it wasn't alarming, but it carried weight. It carried a weight I wasn't prepared for. And in that moment, I realized, whether intentionally or unintentionally, through years of conversations, through how I responded to people, through the values I tried to live by, people had begun trusting my judgment. Not because I am perfect, but because I had quietly built credibility. And that realization humbled me. Because influence isn't measured by followers. It isn't measured by the number of views, nor by the number of likes. Real influence is measured by trust. And trust, my friend, is incredibly expensive. People don't hand it to you overnight. They build it one conversation at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of integrity at a time, one act of consistency at a time. And the frightening thing about it, you can lose years of trust with one careless decision. That night after the call ended, I quietly sat there thinking, because if people are listening, if people are learning, if people are making decisions based on something I have said or something I say, then I can never afford to become careless with my own thoughts. I can't afford to become intellectually lazy. I can't afford emotional recklessness. I can't afford speaking from ego instead of wisdom. Because influence isn't about being right all the time. It's about remaining committed to truth, humility, and growth. And maybe that's a responsibility every one of us carries, whether you realize it or not. Because you don't need a microphone to influence people. You don't need thousands of followers to be an influencer. Someone is already watching how you respond to disappointments. Someone is already learning from how you treat people. Someone is already paying attention to the way you solve problems. In fact, someone is already borrowing your mindset even without asking your permission. Now the question is this: is it a mindset worth borrowing? Now that question, ponder upon it. Sometimes we think influence begins when we have a large audience. Well, I don't think that's true anymore. I think influence begins the moment one person decides they trust your perspective. And that could be your younger sibling. That could be a colleague. It could be a friend, your child, your spouse, or even someone you have never met who listens to you from time to time. Now that realization changed the way I think about personal growth. Because for a long time, I viewed personal growth as something deeply personal. Read another book, develop another skill, earn another qualification, become a better communicator, build more discipline. Yes, all of those things matters, right? But lately, I began asking a different question. Who actually benefits from the person I am becoming? Because growth that ends with you is incomplete. I mean, the healthiest kind of growth eventually becomes service. You become like a tree that naturally bears fruits. It doesn't force it. A tree never forces fruits. It bears fruit naturally. So when you grow, you need to also become impactful. Now that is when growth becomes complete. I think many of us have been taught to chase influence because we have built character. We are encouraged to build an audience because we have built ourselves. To become visible before we become grounded. To speak before we have learned how to listen. And sometimes that is dangerous. Because visibility amplifies whatever already exists in you. If your character is shallow, visibility makes it more obvious. If your ego is unchecked, influence feeds it. And if your values are unstable, success exposes the cracks and gaps. That's why I no longer believe that the greatest preparation for influence is learning how to speak, but rather I think it is learning how to live. Because people eventually hear what you say, but they always experience who you are. Now that conversation with my friend reminded me that people don't trust perfect people, they trust consistent people. Now, that doesn't mean you never make mistakes. It doesn't mean you can't change your mind or you never change your mind. It doesn't mean you pretend to know everything. In fact, some of the most trustworthy people I've met are the quickest to admit they don't know. I mean, that is something incredibly powerful about intellectual humility. When you don't know, just admit you don't know it. There is no need to pretend. It tells people that your identity isn't built on always being right. It is built on always being willing to learn. And maybe that's another reason why I waited so long to start this podcast. Because I didn't know what it was going to be called. I didn't know what it's going to be like. I didn't know what niche it was going to be about. But somehow, deep down inside of me, I just knew it was a part of my journey. Yet, I waited. At times, I convinced myself I just needed one more skill, one more idea, one more sign, and all that. But honestly, maybe I was afraid of criticism. Maybe I was afraid of failing publicly. Just maybe. When I look back at those two conversations, the listener reminded me why I started. My friend reminded me why I must continue carefully. Now, one pointed me towards purpose and the other pointed me towards responsibility. Together, they revealed something I hope never leaves me. True, knowledge is valuable, but character determines how knowledge is used. Intelligence may earn admiration, but character earns trust. Information may impress people, but mindset changes people. And influence without integrity is one of the most dangerous combinations in the world. And the older I get, the less interested I become in sounding intelligent. I become far more interested in becoming trustworthy. I become more interested in being a trusted friend, a trusted brother, a trusted colleague. That's why this journey isn't about becoming perfect. It's about remaining teachable, remaining grounded, remaining grateful, remaining accountable, remaining aware that every conversation has the potential to shape someone's life. Whether it's one person or 1,000, it has the potential. So before we end today's conversation, I want to leave you with a few questions, not for you to answer immediately, but for you to sit with and ask yourself, who trusts my judgment? Now, you might be surprised the names that comes to mind. Now ask yourself, if they copied the way I think, would it help them become a better person? Yeah. Am I investing more energy into gathering information than I am actually developing the mindset to apply it? So here is a challenge to you. Choose one area of your life where your mindset needs to catch up with your knowledge. Maybe you know you need to forgive. Do it, my friend. Maybe you need to start. Take the first step, my friend. Maybe you know you need to apologize. Make that call. Maybe you know you have been living beneath your potential. Stop negotiating with fear, my friend. Knowledge has already brought you to the doorway. Mindset is what walks you through it. And finally, never underestimate the quiet influence you carry. Someone is learning from your consistency. Someone is finding courage because you refuse to give up. Someone is making a better decision because of a conversation you don't even remember having. Now, don't take that lightly. Protect your character, guard your thoughts, stay curious, and remain teachable. And when possible, leave people better than you find them. Thank you for spending time with me today. If these episodes resonate with you, I would love you to share it with someone who needs the reminder that mindset matters just as much as information. And if you're a part of this community already, thank you. Your messages, your engagements, your comments, your subscriptions, they remind me why this podcast exists in the first place. We're not just building an audience. We are building a community of people committed to becoming wiser, kinder, more disciplined, and more intentional, one conversation at a time. Until next time, stay mindful, keep growing, and welcome to the Nexus. I am Abiola Michael, and this is the NexusMindPodcast. Bye-bye.